Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars, welcome to another of my top 10 lists. Today's top 10 list is my top 10 favourite Harrison Ford movies. Now Harrison Ford, I think it's fair to say, is one of the most iconic and most popular actors of all time. He has remained relevant and current for decades now, since he burst onto the scene into the 70s, and he has over the years created so many iconic characters and roles. And let's be honest, even though he's getting on a bit now, how many of us out there are still really looking forward to the new Indiana Jones movie? A little bit apprehensive maybe, but it's a testament to who Harrison Ford is and his great star power that we still remain interested in his career. So this has been a really difficult list to do, actually, as they generally always are, because I was in two minds, whether to include, a lot of his, his Star Wars, his Indiana Jones films, or just to include one. Ultimately, I just thought, well, if it's a great film and I really enjoy it, it's going on this list regardless of what franchise it is from. So I do hope you enjoy this list. Let me know in the comments if you think there's any Harrison Ford films I may have missed on here that you really like. So as usual, there are some honourable mentions that I want to talk about. And the first one I want to talk about is Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, I know these new sequel Star Wars films get a lot of stick, but a lot of people forget when Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, it really was, much enjoyed by everybody, and it's easily the strongest of the three. And a lot of that is because of Harrison Ford. He's just brilliant and a breath of fresh air. It's so wonderful to see him back as Han Solo in this film. The second one is Return of the Jedi, the weakest of the original Star Wars films, but it is still a great Star Wars film, and Harrison Ford has his usual charm in that one as well. And the third one that I think deserves a mention is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Many people actually have this as their favourite Indiana Jones film. It's my second least favourite, if you like, but it is still an excellent Indiana Jones film. So coming in at number 10 is Regarding Henry. It was released in 1991. It wasn't really a box office hit in any way, shape or form, but I think it's one of Harrison Ford's strongest on-screen performances, and it's a really lovely film, very heartwarming and quite emotional. And Harrison Ford plays Henry, who is a bit of a ruthless lawyer. He is shot, I think, in like a robbery, and he kind of comes back from his accident a different person. He's completely shifted personality to a much nicer person. It's really, really a lovely, lovely film, and with his connection to his family, and easily one of his strongest performances, I think. Coming in at number 9 is Air Force One. This was released in 1997. It was a box office smash. Also stars Gary Oldman. And this is the one where Harrison Ford plays the President of the United States. Air Force One is hijacked by Gary Oldman and a bunch of Russian terrorists at the time when Gary Oldman played nothing really but bad guys. It's just a really good action film to see Ford, pushing back against the odds. It's one of the best kind of Die Hard clones, I think it's fair to say. And Harrison Ford obviously could play these sort of roles with his eyes closed, and he's really, really excellent in this as well, as is Gary Oldman, who chews every scene he is in, playing the bad guy. Coming in at number 8, released in 1984, is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. A box office hit, obviously. And this one I really enjoy. It's a lot of people's least favourite Indiana Jones film. I actually really enjoyed this. It's partly to do with the fact that I've got so many fond memories of going to the cinema to see this one. Where I lived when I grew up, it was a place called Heptonstall at the top of a hill, and we used to walk down to a place called Hebden Bridge, me and my brother and sister, every night for about a fortnight to go and watch this film. And I really, really like it. It's very dark, it's very gritty, it's very grim. It's quite gruesome at times. The scene where he pulls out the heart is, it really gruesome, really. You won't get away with it today. And there's some really good action sequences in it. Coming in at number 7, released in 1985, is Witness. This was a mild hit. However, it's, from memory anyway, I think this is the only film where Harrison Ford has received an Oscar nomination. And you can see why when you watch this film. Basically, Harrison Ford plays a grizzled police veteran who is basically tasked with protecting a witness. who witnesses a murder, and he kind of goes to this Amish community in order to protect this witness and become part of the community before the crooked cops track him and the witness down. It's a really, really good film, really gritty thriller, but it's also a love story at the very core of it too, and a wonderful performance by Ford. Coming in at number 6, released in 2017, Blade Runner 2049. This sequel blew me away. There is a review for this film on the channel. When it came out, I wasn't expecting anything like the film we got because I was such a fan of the first Blade Runner. I think it's an incredible science fiction film. I just didn't see how they could follow it up, but they nailed it. Denis Villeneuve absolutely nailed this sequel. This isn't the only reason this isn't higher on the list is because the film essentially stars Ryan Gosling, even though Harrison Ford is in it. But when he turns up, he just lights up the screen. He's brilliant as Deckard once again, and I just absolutely love this film. Coming in at number 5, released in 1993, another box office smash hit, The Fugitive. This is the one where Harrison Ford plays Richard Kimball, a doctor whose wife is murdered. He gets blamed for the murder. He escapes and he's on the run. He's a fugitive being chased by the US Marshal Tommy Lee Jones as he tries to investigate who killed his wife. Now, Tommy Lee Jones got all the plaudits for this film. He got the Oscar, I believe he got the Oscar for this film. But I think this performance by Harrison Ford is very understated, and it is an excellent performance by him. I think if Tommy Lee Jones hadn't have got the Oscar, I think he would have got much more notoriety from this film, if I'm being honest. Coming in at number 4 is Star Wars, the film that you could argue really started it all for Harrison Ford. This is the one that really put him on the map. A massive box office smash hit, obviously. And it introduced us all to Han Solo, played brilliantly by Harrison Ford. This roguish charm that Han Solo had. He was the perfect mirror opposite of Luke Skywalker. And he brought a little bit of something different to Star Wars. And he's one of, if not the main reason why Star Wars was such a fantastic film. It really, really was a great performance by him in one of the greatest films of all time. Coming in at number 3, The Empire Strikes Back, released in 1980, another box office smash hit. Now, I think this is Harrison Ford's best performance in a Star Wars film. He was really given a part in this film where he could really get his teeth stuck into it, Who'd have thought in the first one that there was going to be a romance between Han Solo and Princess Leia? It was brilliantly played out. It was a fantastic performance by Ford. He was funny, he was gritty, he was everything you wanted him to be in this film. And as a Star Wars film as well, it still is the best Star Wars film that's ever been put to screen, in my opinion. And it's just an absolutely fantastic film. Coming in at number 2, Blade Runner. It was a flop at the time. We all know it has turned out to be one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. It's universally agreed to be so influential, so fantastic. And Harrison Ford is just perfect in this film. Him and Rutger Hauer are both wonderful in this film. Harrison Ford plays Deckard, who is basically a Blade Runner, which is a cop that tracks down androids, basically. It's just brilliant. I mean, a lot of people don't like the pacing in this film. I just love it. I love the pacing of this film. I love the climax of this film, and it's an incredible film all round. And for me, number 1 has to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. A box office smash hit. I think it's the greatest character he's ever put to screen. And I think, for me, Raiders of the Lost Ark is clearly the best Indiana Jones film. Still, I've still got wonderful memories of going to the cinema to see this, not knowing what to expect, and just blown away. It was just... you couldn't take your eyes off the screen. I can remember that feeling I had as a kid in the cinema watching it, and the great action sequences that we got. I mean, they're still unrivaled to some degree today, the Indiana Jones action sequences, and for me, it's his greatest film, so that's why it is at number 1. So there you go, guys. That is my top 10 favourite Harrison Ford films. I think there's some ones in there that are fairly easy to predict, I think, because he's two major franchises to his name, basically, you know, the Star Wars and the Indiana Jones franchises. You can't ignore them. They're all good films, generally speaking, the ones that he's appeared in. So that's why the majority of them are on this list or on the honourable mentions. He has done so many other great films. I like Mosquito Coast, for example. I quite like The Devil's Own, you know, the one with Brad Pitt, What Lies Beneath. He's done a lot of other great films, but he just didn't manage to crack the top 10 or the honourable mentions because there's so many of his great films that he's made, they just can't get close to. So I hope you enjoyed this list. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know in the comments if there's any you think I've missed, and any suggestions for top 10 films are most welcome too. So thanks for watching, everybody.